All right. Well, much has been written and discussed about Annie's character here in these episodes. Certain Reddit forums and even YouTube videos. Is Annie a sociopath? Is she a psychopath? We can take a look at each one of these episodes and make a pretty good case on either direction. But I think you'll probably agree with me that for the most part, uh, she's just a little misunderstood here. She did tell her rival school about the bus, and it did get towed with everybody inside. But was that really her intent? Did she know everybody was going to be inside there? Was it more about her loyalty to Greendale in the sense that she was so offended that they would disrespect the flag in the way that they did? And she did come back around in the end. She did sell out her ideals and take all of the group's work and all of her own work on the play. That probably says more about Pierce manipulating her and her low income and an unequal power dynamic that he was taking advantage of than it does for her caving into that. However, in Infinite Knots, it's a little bit more difficult to justify the perhaps impulsive act of blackmailing or suggesting that she would blackmail Professor Wallace with fake sexual charges. However, I believe there was some sort of exchange related to her feed. So, not for nothing that he was already probably down that path potentially. Trying to sacrifice everybody's grade in a bargain, not because they were failing, but because she needed to get valedictorian. Well, it, in that sense, I don't know. It's probably just a little bit manipulative on the lower grade scale of things. The Batman episode, yeah. And how much is this just because of her own devotion to Abed and not wanting to hurt his feelings and not wanting to create a rift in the relationship that she did stage a fake burglary and frame the landlord, but he was kind of a jerk anyway, and I'm not sure that the terms of the landlord agreement were being honored fully there. Now she did convince an entire hotel staff that she was Jeff's wife and play house to the point of throwing drink in his face, but how much of that was just a little entertainment, and didn't Jeff find it funny in the end? Multi-phase, dangerous lesson involving fake deaths and series of guns. I mean, no one had a heart attack. Some lessons were learned. These were fake deaths, importantly, and fake guns. So there is that. And involve the theater director, you might show off your range a little bit. So I don't know if that aspect of it really gets talked about as much. Getting into English as a second language, she did get Chang fired, but potentially, should he have had the position in the first place? Yeah, she did almost steal an entire year from the group's lives related to that class, but they still did get credit for the class they took, so there is that. This one's a bit more beyond the pale. We do find out, without much revelatory information, that she endorsed the entire group with Adderall to make them study harder. Abed, in fact, develops his own language up for 3 days. Her intentions were pure, but the ends do not justify the means. And yeah, this is the first really red mark, strike one, I would say. Strike two would be in the next episode of Accounting for Lawyers. She did chloroform that janitor several times. That's She was really ready to go. That was her answer to everything at that time. But again, it was altruistic. This wasn't even for her own own cause. This was to save Jeff, to get him back to restored with his own firm that he needed the evidence to prove that the guy he was uh, getting into business with was not really on the up and up, and in fact, it orchestrated Jeff's downfall. So that was pretty severe, but it's not for unselfish means, but rather than psychopathic, perhaps just with like very singular focus, almost like a military sense of focus, militaristic. We do get into in the science of illusion some violence here. This one, context considered, there were no repercussions, and it was very quickly forgiven. But slamming Jeff's head on the table not once but twice, punching him in the nose, sorry, you have to bloody it, playing it at their fake wedding. Yeah, there's a lot there. But what's the woman scorned quote? I think applies here, and kind of on its nose, straight ahead. She got the group to enroll in a class on grifting, just for the sake of learning how to be a better manipulator. Again, though, it's what onto one end, I suppose. In social psychology, there's Britta, the Ragers, the parties. There is this is the meme where she breaks Britta down. Britta's near tears and gets she utters the famous "All hail Queen Annie." So kind of kind of calculating to the point of teaching a lesson once again. Again, though, through all of these, there are some key differences that must be highlighted. With the sociopath, it's more, especially at a low grade level, impulsive, it's erratic, it's disorganized. Psychopath is more like that's your revenge, best served cold. It's manipulative, but it's driven, it's focused, and it's calculated. You see a bit of that from Abed. You see a bit of that from Jeff. Uh, but is it without empathy? Is the question. Is it without regard for the rest of her group? That lack of emotional attachment. I don't think you see that here. I think you see that she's very much intact. She does do this manipulation because she cares. Just like Jeff at the end of each episode grows a little bit more of a heart. He's less of a heartless lawyer because of the influence of the group. She's one of those key influences, and their attachments are what drives each one of the episodes forward to a degree. And we have to consider her background. She was raised in this highly competitive environment where the academic pressure to excel past her own background. That's fueled by Adderall, fueled by some parental issues. After recovering from all of that, she's determined to reinvent herself and regain some of her previous success. So very driven, very focused, very type A, not unlike in sort of a Amy Santiago with a different background, perhaps. So I think we are going to rule on the side of just a little bit manipulative, but not heartless, just a little calculating, but not unattached. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments in the Discord.